And good morning, takers. It is March 5th, 2022. We got Ryan the Tagless Haynes in the house and Disfatt-Bidge. I'm vengeance. You ate my leftovers. I have to kill you. Ryan, I want to start off with the top that I am very excited for the Batman coming out this weekend, or it's already out. And I have been avoiding spoilers as much as I can, even though it was spoiled, and I'll get to that in the leftovers. But is there anything more exciting happening this week than the Batman? Are we going to be talking about anything that's more exciting?
Yeah, Dynasty sells, man. Dynasty sells, combine news, all that is way more exciting than the Batman.
Way more. Some may say you would pay to see this show just like you would the Batman, but you don't have to. You can listen to us for free. Apple, Spotify, Google, and Amazon. And you can watch us on YouTube. Just a Tip, a fantasy football podcast. It is the off season still. We are going to get into Dynasty sells, like Ryan mentioned. We'll get into combine news, trade rumors, players on the move. We'll get into that. And just an update on what we're doing. Next week, we'll give like a free agency preview, and Regan will be back with us. He'll be off vacation, so if you're missing IR Regan, we miss him just as much, probably more. Need that comedic relief of mispronouncing names, and just kidding, just messing with you, Regan. But he's been working on the logo, so we'll be getting that done hopefully in 2 weeks when we have our year anniversary, Ryan. Almost a year. Look at that.
You believe that, weeks. Man?
I cannot. And can you believe we're like almost a quarter way through this year?
I know, right?
Incredible. But without further ado, Ryan, let's get in your briefs and see what's happening.
Sweet sassy molassy.
Yeah, I think most of the offseason news is coming from Dallas here early on. I don't know what's happening down there.
Pretty much, man.
So first bit of news, Amari Cooper looks like he's expected to be released, and they just signed Michael Gallup to an extension. So what's happening here, Mac? What are your initial reactions with this news?
They didn't sign him yet. They're working on it. Okay. But he tore his ACL in January, and they're going to do a long-term deal with Gallup. Like, there's no guarantee with ACL tears that you'll be all right. And a long-term deal, I don't know. He's a wide receiver too at best. He's not Amari Cooper. I don't get it. I guess he's just too expensive.
I mean, he did score a touchdown in that last play before he tore his ACL, or as he tore his ACL, I suppose.
As he did.
So.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh. So maybe that's what they're thinking. It's like, what happened last with Michael Gallup? He scored a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. Where do you think Amari Cooper goes?
Amari Cooper, I mean, who knows where he's at in his career, man. The guy hasn't won anything yet. I don't know what kind of personality he has. I don't know if he's a guy that's going to want to go chase championships or if he's a guy that's going to want to go cash in. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him almost follow suit like guys like Marvin Jones. I know he's more talented than Marvin Jones, but like Jacksonville, Cleveland kind of ends up on like a mid-tier team, a team that's really not expected to win the Super Bowl, but cashes in. So we'll see what happens. Or a 1-year prove it deal somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I could see him in Jacksonville. They could use him. That'd be nice. But yeah, I don't know. Watch him go to the Chiefs. They seem to get those type of guys that get released. So, what does this do for CeeDee Lamb though? Make him a top 10 wide receiver now, even though he had a disappointing back half of the stretch last year?
I don't think it automatically guarantees that he's going to be top 10, but I think he's going to be in the wide receiver 1 conversation. I mean, we've talked on this show so much about volume, And without Amari Cooper there, and your next biggest competition for targets is going to be Michael Gallup or Cedric Wilson if they don't pick up anybody. So if that's the case, if that's the wide receiver core they're going to go into 2022 with, CeeDee Lamb definitely has a good chance of being a wide receiver 1.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so anyway. I like him as a player, so we'll see.
Yeah, and the other bit of news that came out of Dallas, Matthew Berry reports that they're going to franchise tag Dalton Schultz. So because Blake Jarwin tore his ACL last year, I guess that opened up the possibility of Dalton Schultz getting franchise tagged this year. So how do you feel about them bringing him back?
It kind of makes sense. This news goes hand in hand. So with Gallup long term, then they're going to need Schultz just in case Gallup doesn't work out too well. And he was a target machine last year. Without Amari Cooper, they're going to need him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about these moves. I mean, I get that Amari Cooper had a disappointing season, but so didn't CeeDee Lamb. So didn't that entire offense.
I was going to say the entire team did. I was trying to look up how old Dalton Schultz is. I'm still annoyed I dropped him last offseason because they're like, oh, Blake Jarwin's going to be the starter. No need to worry about
Dalton Schultz, I think, is 27 going on 28.
Yeah. Yep.
For a tight end is not that's not old.
No, he's 25.
He's 25? Oh, yep. Okay. So I mean he's hitting his peak. But we're gonna get more into Dalton Schultz later because I got some things to say about him. I know.
Love when you tease me like that.
Here's another tease. Are you ready? Russell Wilson to the Washington Commanders.
You know what I think about that name?
What?
I don't like it. But yeah, so Russell Wilson to the Commanders, rumored to give multiple first rounds for Russell Wilson. But then Russ doesn't want to go there. So Mr. Unlimited, I still think he wants to go to like the Big Apple. I could see the Giants next year. He playing out his next season in Seattle. But then I found this from Pete Carroll saying they've been fielding calls for Russell Wilson, but they don't see themselves parting ways with him. This is like me saying that, yeah, I'm working out, I'm losing, my goal is to lose 50 pounds, but I'm not parting ways with the buffet. What's going on here, Ryan? Like Pete Carroll just talks out of both sides of his mouth. No wonder players want to get out of there.
Oh, he's always done that for sure.
Yeah.
Nobody has any idea of what's going to happen with Russell Wilson this year. I mean, I think you can expect him to be back in Seattle. Franchise quarterbacks very rarely get traded. Matthew Stafford being the exception last year. This doesn't seem to be a team that's in a total rebuild like the Lions were. So I don't know. I feel like the easy solution is to go out and find some linemen for Russell Wilson. And then he'll probably be happier. But Russell Wilson's like, spewing stuff out of his mouth too. The West Coast is better for me right now. I'd rather be on the West Coast. But then he's like, what did he buy? Like a house or real estate in New York?
His wife is working for Good Morning America in New York as well. So I don't know. I think he's going out, but probably not this season. I think the details are just a bit too complicated. We'll see, though. I don't think he's happy there. If you want to read more about that, though, CBS Brian Diardo has a column up on his site. That's where I was reading that stuff from. If you want more details about that, which who wouldn't?
I think we gave you everything you needed to know. That was it.
Pretty much.
Saquon Barkley trade rumors. Supposedly 11 teams interested, and your Miami Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
They're involved in this too.
They are number one on the list. So he has just over $7 million on his cap hit, and the Giants need to make some cap room to get. Speaking of getting a better O-line, so they may be trading him out. He's 25. I'm not sure if he'll be 26 before the season starts, but he'll be looking for a contract extension. Is this the time to trade for Saquon Barkley? I know we did our buys last episode. We didn't bring him up. Should have been an honorable mention, but I don't know. I just sent out a trade. I don't have many first picks, so I set my 2024 and a couple thirds and a player to get Saquon Barkley because I think he'll be motivated. And if he gets to a better team, that resurgence, we could see a James Conner type style. That's what I'd be hoping for.
He's a guy that I think you can try to see how desperate players are or fantasy players are to get rid of him, and just throw out trades like you just did. And it's not insulting a first round pick, a future first, a player, a few other picks. You're not going to insult anybody by making an offer like that. If you're offering, hey, here's 4 third-round picks for Saquon, that person's just going to be pissed at you. But go out, feel around. Don't offer too much for him right now. But I do think that Saquon's still got a lot left in the tank, man. He's just had a couple of unlucky seasons. And if he returns to form in any way, he's definitely worth 2 first-round picks for a contender. So that's kind of how I feel about that situation. I don't know if ultimately he gets traded. I mean, he was the cornerstone of that team for his first 2 years. Like I said, he's been unlucky. If you get a healthy Saquon back on that Giants team and you give him a few offensive linemen, whether it be through free agency or in the draft, you could still make a formidable offense there.
Very much so. I don't know how to get a read on the Giants because they have rumored to be moving on from Kadarius Toney as well. So Joe Judge screwed that team over pretty bad, and now I think they're just going to be rebuilding hardcore. So I think he will be traded. That's just my gut feeling. Barkley, that is, not Toney. I don't know where that's coming from.
Yeah, why would you trade a second-year receiver? What are you going to get for him? And he's a second-year receiver who showed that he has some flashes. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. If you're rebuilding, those are the guys you're looking for.
Exactly. It made no sense. I'm not even going to cite the article I was reading. Wasn't worth it. Don't waste your time.
There you go. All right, now we got some combine rumors, right?
Yeah, let's check out some young studs here.
That's what she said.
Quickly, we'll run through some combine. We'll get into more of the rookie class probably after free agency, but what have you been seeing from the combine?
Well, I know a little bit about Breece Hall. I've been following him for the last couple of off seasons. Clearly the biggest running back name of this draft, although there's some debate whether or not Kenneth Walker might be able to kind of overtake him, depending on where he lands. So Breece Hall, though, big back, runs hard, seems to be the consensus first pick. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now for who's going to be number 1 in this upcoming 2022 rookie draft.
Hype train's up. I think, what is he, 217, something like that? 220 is his weight. Jonathan Taylor type vibes. So if you have the 101, I would definitely take him. But like I said, we'll dive deep into that.
Yeah, people are going to get cute. It's like in the 2020 draft with Jonathan Taylor, clearly the most talented running back coming out of college, broke all kinds of records at Wisconsin. CEH ends up in Kansas City, and everyone's like, "Whoa, CEH is in Kansas City. That's the best offense. It's going to be the best situation." And then people started passing on JT, and look at where they are now because of that.
Yeah, watch Hall go to like Denver or something. They still have Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon.
All right, what do you have going on? You got some 40-yard dash news over here?
Oh, yeah, I was just making a note of that in the ticker, but looks like the Ohio State wide receivers are doing well, but Chris, I'm going to call him Olaf, but Olave. I always go Olaf, like from Frozen, but so he had his timing corrected from his 40 dash 4.0 4.26 to a 4.39. I don't know how
Big difference.
Yeah, that's kind of a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
But then Tyquan Thornton from Baylor, wide receiver, he broke the record at first, 4.21, but then it moved to a 4.28. So I'm not really sure how it happened, but the timing during pro days and stuff, the weights were all off on these players. Their timings were generous. So I didn't think it would happen this year, but I don't know. I think people overrate the 40 dash time as well, because you go back and you look at Kareem Hunt, Alvin Kamara's, they were above 4.5. And Alvin Kamara, he was the number one pick in fantasy drafts. Like, just don't, first round pick, not number one. Excuse me. But just don't take too much stock in it, because the record holder is John Ross, who is fantasy irrelevant. So with a 4.22. So
Yeah,
don't take
and
much stock in all this.
Tom Brady ran like a 5.1 or something, right?
Oh, I don't know. I know Vince Wilfork would beat him in the 40 time.
Yeah, there you go.
I've seen that, so that is great. Yeah, wrap up real quick from all the combine news. Apparently, Miami Dolphin Twitter, you guys are ridiculous. I know there's a few listeners. Stop it. They're saying Miami's going to get draft 2 rookie wide receivers. They're going to fall in their lap, apparently. And Calvin Ridley, they're going to trade for, and they're going to pick up Amari Cooper. Shut the fuck up. Stop it. They're rebuilding a bit. Brand new coach who apparently is the NFL's favorite coach right now. Rich Eisen loves him. He was on Pat McAfee's show, which was great. Great talk there. I don't know if you see those clips, but check him out, especially the Pat McAfee one. But yeah, he's a lovable guy. I could see him trading for Calvin Ridley, but not drafting 2 wide receivers. You just spent that for Waddle last year.
Yeah, take all this with a grain of salt. Anytime a team has a ton of salary cap space, everyone's going to them, and calories. Yeah. Obviously,
the Dolphins, they eat a lot.
They eat a lot. They are on this new system with this new coach. So, but yeah, anytime a team has this much space, they're rumored to get everybody. Cleveland went through it last year. Miami's going through it this year. So just take it all with a grain of salt.
Appreciate it, man. All right. You don't have anything else for that, right?
No, let's get into some sells here.
Yeah, let's get into some sells. Dynasty sells. So Dynasty, if you don't play, but you're interested in it, kind of listen to this episode still. Get a vibe of what we're talking about, because you look more in the long term than you do the short term in redraft leagues, which we usually talk about. But our last episode, season 2, episode 4, we talked about players that you would want to trade for. Now we're going to talk about players that we're going to trade away. So, Ryan, I say we get into it. Trying to find my favorite drop, but I can't find it. Where are you? Edit that out.
Come, let us gingerly touch our tips.
Would you like to go first, or would you like me to?
You know what? You take the honors this week. Go right ahead.
Oh, okay, I will. All right. So this one, it hurts a bit, because this one's personal to me. Dalvin Cook. I love Dalvin Cook, running back for Minnesota Vikings. He's going to be 27 this season, and he's coming off a disappointing year, the running back 16. And you definitely in redraft, you probably spent top 3 pick on him. In Dynasty, I did mention in our buys last week to get Alexander Madison, who's his handcuff, who's the backup running back. And I was saying you would have to do a package deal. If you want to get Madison, you'd have to get Cook. Probably have to spend a pretty penny for him. If you're not a contender, you need to trade Dalvin Cook right now. But keep Madison if you have him. So Cook, he has a potential out in his contract after this season. So in 2023, next offseason, if we're still around, we'll be talking about it. he's got an out on his contract, and that coincidentally is when Madison becomes an unrestricted free agent. What I was talking about, I think he's going to be getting the contract. He's younger. They're just going to bring up Madison and not pay Dalvin Cook the money. He'll go get paid somewhere else. So I'm a little torn, Ryan, because I have Dalvin Cook. I want to win. I am contender. But I also don't have any picks. So if I don't win it this year, I'm kind of screwed. But I think he will go off this year. But he has had some injury troubles too. So there's always that. But I really hate doing that because no running back ever finishes a whole season. And everybody says injury prone. But what are your thoughts on him? Would you, in my position, keep him? Will you trade him to a contender for 23, 24 first years? I'm talking about, not actual 23, 24 first round picks.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think you're absolutely right. If you are not a contender, even if you're just kind of floating in the middle, you have to trade Dalvin Cook right now. He's one of your most valuable assets. He's still likely going to have another really, really good year in 2022. People know that. They'll pay for it, especially if they're trying to contend, if they're trying to get somebody to put them over the top to win a championship. They'll probably give you 2 first-round picks. They might give you a first-round pick and a really young player like a Elijah Moore that you could target, or like a Devontae Smith, someone like that. If you can find those deals, go ahead and make them. If you're a contender, if you're in your situation, Mac, I mean, you just got to assess in the season. If you're sitting there in week 8 and you're 4-4, you're even if you're 5-3, but you're not putting up the points that you want to put up, you're seeing that there might be 1 or 2 other rosters that are really separating themselves from everybody else. Then you might want to go ahead and make that move before the offseason. Because I'll tell you what, if you wait until next year in his age 28 season, when he's an unrestricted free agent, or if he opts out of his contract, which you likely will, and that's an out with Minnesota, right? They can choose to.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's a team option. Okay.
Team option.
I don't see them picking that up, especially with Madison, like you were saying. If he goes to a new team at 28, people aren't going to give you what they're going to give you now. Trade him now.
He'll be Melvin Gordon. He'll be Melvin
Mm-hmm.
Gordon. That's
exactly
what you'll get. Suitable. Like, I would love to have Melvin Gordon on my team in real life and on fantasy. But if you're looking for that top 5 running back, now's the time. Or probably during the season, you got to flip him. Hopefully he's coming out hot.
That's a perfect comparison because you can trade Dalvin Cook as a top 5 running back right now. If you wait till next season, you're trading him at basically where Melvin Gordon is, which is probably closer to that running back 2 territory.
You could probably get 1 first-round pick, and that's it.
Exactly. Yep.
Like, so nobody's going to be anymore. Yeah. Just want to mention his just a little bit of stats. He's pretty much taken a hit in his touchdown department. He went from 13 touchdowns and 16 touchdowns down to 6 last year. And I'm a bit nervous with the coaching staff. O'Connell coming in from the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to run the ball like Minnesota has with Kubiak the past few years, senior and junior? I'm a little bit nervous. They might just build around Jefferson and throw the ball a lot more than run it. And he's not really that much of a pass-catching running back. That was Madison's job.
Mm-hmm.
He only had like 1 receiving touchdown. So, yeah, I think now's the time to trade him.
I mean, listen, the fact that he was still a very good option last year, running back 1 last year, and he only had 6 touchdowns, I think that even if they shift the way that offense runs in Minnesota, he's still going to be able to find the end zone more than he found it this year.
Agreed. All right, who's your first player?
So my first player, I'm gonna kind of start cold and work hot here and ruffle some feathers along the way.
Not just go all for it like I just did.
Exactly. I'm gonna start slow here, work you into it. Dalton Schultz, we just talked about him. And the reason why I'm saying sell now on Dalton Schultz, he was tight end 3 last year, 78 catches, 808 yards, 8 touchdowns. He's still going to finish as a tight end 1, which is not a very hard thing to do. We've talked about that in the past. He's not going to be nearly as consistent, I don't think, as he was last year. And when you are looking in the offseason and there's somebody who's desperate, they're desperate to contend, and they're very weak at the tight end position, you'll find some guys who will overvalue certain tight ends. So for instance, last year I sold Robert Tonyan coming off of a tight end 3 season, had double-digit touchdowns, and I traded him for a 2023 first.
No.
Robert Tonyan did not play a game last year. And even if he did play one game or a couple of games, even if he played a whole season, that is a steal. And you will find players who will give you that value for a top 5 tight end. And they won't look too deep into why they were a top 5 tight end.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my first. Any comments on Dalton Schultz? What do you think?
I do. I think I would keep him if I had him, because especially with the news of Amari Cooper coming out.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, the peak value of him would be right now 8 touchdowns.
Exactly. I'm not saying he's going to have a bad season by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just saying his value is the highest it's probably going to ever be at this point.
What if it's better next year? Playing on the franchise tag, motivated.
I think Kelsey's still above him. Andrew's still above him. Hawkinson didn't play a full season. I think he's above him. Kittle didn't play a full season. I think he slides out of that top 5 and he slides more down into like 7, 8, 9. I mean, you got guys like Dallas Goedert. You don't know what they're going to be next year. You don't know what a Zach Ertz is going to look like in a full season with Arizona if he goes back with Arizona. I'm just saying he could slide down that tight end ranking. And if he's a tight end 9 next year, you're not getting what you're going to get coming off of his tight end 3 season.
Nah, and remember, if Kyle Pitts catches more than 1 touchdown, he will take
That's
over.
Absolutely right.
And in America.
I don't know if that's going to happen, though, this year, to be honest with you.
Ooh, all right. We'll have to discuss that later.
Yeah.
All right. So trade him for a first.
Try to trade him for a first. See if anybody will jump on that.
This year, next year?
It doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Honestly. And if you can't get a first, just hold on to him. But I'm just saying, throw out feelers, see if you can get somebody to jump.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, I would trade a first for him if I needed a tight end. I think that's pretty fair.
Agreed.
All right. Next one for me, wide receiver from Detroit. Yeah, might shock you. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, if you've been listening to us for a bit, you know, conveniently, I think like episode 5 of last season, we talked about the rookie breakouts, and Amon-Ra was my guy. And I think this is the peak, and it's only his second year, Ryan. So I love this guy, but let me show you what my line of thinking is. Last season, he probably won you the championship. He had an awesome championship week with like 37 points, but he had a whole run. From week 13 on, he had no less than 10 targets, and he also had no less than 8 receptions. And he had a touchdown in all those weeks except week 14. But he still scored like 17 points. Mm-hmm. So it's still, you take that every single week you can. So you definitely want to sell on this aspect when people look at his stats. Be like, look, he did this down the stretch. They're going to use him. They're going to target him and talk about Anthony Lynn was no longer the play caller. Back in the first half of the season, after the bye week, they switched. They incorporated Amon-Ra St. Brown a bit. This is what you got to massage in. Probably not just going to straight up sell Amon-Ra. He's going to have to get a package deal. But I'm definitely looking to flip him. My reasoning, DeAndre Swift, their running back, he didn't play weeks 13 through 16. He did play week 17, but that was coming off the injury. He really wasn't part of the game plan. But before week 13, he was averaging 6.3 receptions per game out of the backfield. So do you think that had some, what's the word I'm looking for? impact on Amon-Ra's production, correlation.
Of course. I mean, DeAndre Swift, I think, was the number one targeted receiver for up until that point, week 13. And I could be off, but I'm pretty sure I'm right.
I'm pretty sure the running back field was in general.
Mm-hmm.
That was their play style. But then the other guy, their tight end, the big hawk, TJ Hawkinson, he missed week 14 on. All right, so sometimes he would have 2 receptions, but then he'd have 10. Very inconsistent. And if you had him and you started him, you would be pretty disappointed at times. But he still, what was he, the tight end 5 on the year?
Yeah.
It was outrageous. So, but because he went out, I think that's why Amon-Ra went off as well.
I think to your point, I pulled up some stats here. You're talking week 13, Swift goes down. Week 14, Hawkinson goes down. So these are the 4 games leading up to that week prior. So starting at week 8, including with the bye included, 5 targets, 6 targets, 4 targets, 4 targets for St. Brown. Week 13, 12 targets, 12 targets, 11 targets, 11 targets,
exactly.
11 targets, 10 targets. Clear correlation between these guys going down and Amon-Ra being more involved in the offense.
Now, this wide receiver class this year coming out, I would flip him for a first this year and try to get one of these guys, depending on their landing spot. So check back in when we do our rookie preview next month. Where was I? Oh, they also have Jared Goff. Not the most dominant quarterback. He was number 24 QB last season. Detroit's offense was 22nd overall. All right, they're still in rebuilding. So you can't depend on this. It was great. He's a great wide receiver 3 going down. But wide receiver 3s don't get your first round picks. I would flip him. You could try packaging him. Say you need a running back. Help swap some picks and stuff. That's totally fine. But I'm looking to trade up for either this year or next year's first and getting a stud wide receiver and taking a chance on that, because you probably spent a second rounder on him last season. I think Jackson drafted him top
early
second round. Yeah, but
exactly.
I think he auto drafted. Prick. I'm just saying, you want a consistent starter, you need to flip him. I just think. Oh, also, combine news: the coaching staff for Detroit. Sorry, I'm getting too close into the mic there. Getting all excited. Are talking about getting a wide receiver in free agency and drafting another wide receiver.
Yep.
There you go. And then Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift taking more because they're still young. Even though they've been getting some injuries, they're still going to be taking targets away from him. So I think this is the peak value of Amon-Ra, unfortunately.
Yeah, you just took the words out of my mouth. I was like, we haven't even mentioned the surprise wide receiver that's going to be part of that receiving core this year, because they had no wide receivers outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What are you talking about? They had Khalif Raymond, Holy Cross grad. Come on.
He had a great season. I'm not trying to take away from Khalif, but
he had like 2 good weeks.
Yeah. All right, what do you think? We want to jump into one of my guys here?
Yes, let's go.
This one's going to ruffle some feathers, but I think it kind of goes with the Dalvin Cook news here. So I'm going to say Joe Mixon. So Joe Mixon, running back 3 this season. I think this is where his value is at its highest. So if I was looking at trading Dalvin Cook, I probably would have done it last year, because now people are looking at his age. Now people are looking at 27 years old. He's going to be, he can be, they don't have to pick up his team option next year. He could be going to a different team. There's more question marks around Dalvin Cook. If you know you're not going to compete for a year or 2 or 3, you got to make these moves early so you can capitalize on the value. If you're a middle of the pack team or a team that's going to be in a rebuild, Joe Mixon, trading him right now, you can get so much value from him. He's going to be 26 this year. He's had over 1,100 carries in 5 seasons. He has been a total workhorse. He had 350 rushing attempts across 21 games, including the playoffs this year. He's not Derrick Henry. Not everybody is Derrick Henry. Not everyone's going to hold up. This guy has a lot of miles on him. So my prediction this year is that the Bengals either start incorporating Pirine and Chris Evans a bit more into the offense to try to save on the miles that they're putting on Joe Mixon. Or I don't think they go out and get a running back in free agency because Mixon, he still has a pretty hefty contract. So they've spent a lot of money in for that running back situation. I think he still has 3 years remaining, 36 mil. So I don't think they go out and get a running back in free agency this year to split the backfield, but they might draft someone. Or after this year, you might see them try to pick up somebody to split the backfield when Samaje is unrestricted free agent next year. I don't know if I love Joe Mixon going forward. He had a lot of question marks going into this season. He overperformed. Now is the time I think you can trade a guy like Joe Mixon for 2 first, reload. I think I actually just swapped him for a first-round pick and Chris Carson. Him and Chris Carson are the same player. What's the difference? Joe Mixon is coming off of a running back 3 season. Chris Carson is coming off of an injury-riddled season. But if you look at their history, similar amount of carries per season, similar amount of yards per season, similar amount of rushing touchdowns per season, make those types of moves.
I love Chris Carson, but he's coming off a neck injury. I did trade for him too. I'm taking the chance. Reports are that he's doing well with his workouts and they're optimistic. So that's great. But yes, the comparison to Dalvin Cook and Joe Mixon, this is the time to trade him. You're talking about the volume. That's going to go down. And you didn't mention this, the wide receivers on the team. You can see the second half of the season and into the playoffs, they were more pass happy. The attempts for Joe Burrow went from 35 to 45. They're going to keep on doing that. They're not going to run the ball 30 plus times with Joe Mixon anymore. So yeah, this is the time to trade him. Absolutely 2 first rounders and a prospect. I wouldn't take anything less than that. But you can definitely get that.
Yeah, or I think finding a replacement for him and a first round pick, you're still getting value, and if you're competing, which I intend to compete, and I think that's the difference. I got Chris Carson, I replaced him, I can still compete, and I got a first round pick in addition. I'm happy with that. I plan for the future and I plan for now.
Would you do like an Eli Mitchell in a first round?
Yeah, I would. Anybody who can put up
on
similar numbers.
Yeah.
And you can get some draft capital in the future, I would make that move. If you're getting a starting running back who could be in the running back 1 discussion and anything additional, make that move if you're a competitor. If you're rebuilding, lots of picks.
Yeah, lots of picks. If you're rebuilding, picks. If you're a contender, a mix, hybrid, or position of need. Yes. All right. Appreciate it.
Hit us with your third here.
All right, my third one, might get sticky, might get stinky. Careful, Aaron Rodgers. You're not going to trade him just because he's weird. You might take a dump on your team, or he might sneak some leeches in your jockstrap or something. If you listen to our last episode, go back and listen to that. So he's 38. I'm not going to get bogged down with stats right now. In this one, we're running out of time. But he's still undecided, coming from him, undecided on where he's going to end up next season. I don't think he's going to retire, so I'm hoping, this is my play, whether he signs with a team, but I think he's going to go to a different one. The hype is just going to be unreal. He's coming off back-to-back MVP seasons. He has been a top 10 QB his entire career, besides 2 years of injury ending seasons. So he's still going to be there, but you don't want, I didn't want to mention the player, but another old quarterback who has no trade value right now, but he might come back and might play somewhere else. Who knows? You don't want that to happen. So say Rodgers moves to Denver, Pittsburgh, Miami, the hype is going to be unreal. A few days later, you're going to package deal him to somebody. It's time to move on. Get like a Jalen Hurts or one of these sophomore quarterbacks for somebody that's a contender that has them. Like, hell, I'd even put Davis Mills with a first round pick and just be like, all right, I got the first round pick and then maybe a starter in Davis Mills or Tua, somebody like that. If you're not a contender, you got to move on from him. Even if you are a contender, I think you need to move on because don't get stuck in that situation I did last year. You didn't win it. Now you're stuck holding the bag, and you don't want that.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good idea. I think even if you are a contender and you're trying to trade and you're trying to replace Rodgers, if you get a guy like Tua, certainly a serviceable quarterback, one quarterback formats, there's not a huge difference between top 5 and the QB5, QB12. Tua, first round pick, you can't beat that. I don't know how many people would do that, but there are guys who will make those trades. So just keep sending them out. Mm-hmm.
You probably have 4 options in your league that people believe they're in the top half. They are a contender. Check their quarterback situation. Be like, listen, like I don't need him. I need to get picks. I'll take off, I don't know, Zach Wilson. He didn't have a good year, but they invested a second rounder. Maybe they're getting cold feet. Talk to them. Have a conversation with people. Don't be insulting with your trades or anything. Just talk to them. Be like, hey, I don't need him. I'm rebuilding. Would you like some leeches and some cleansing tools?
Would you like to be cleansed of I don't know,
all the toxins? Let me take these toxic players off your roster and I'll give you Rodgers.
There you go, man. There you go.
All right, last player. What do we got?
This is exciting. Cooper Kupp. Hear me out,
Yep,
Mac.
boom. Tough acting to acting.
You hit me with that one. Okay.
Hear me out, dude. Dude just won the Triple Crown for receiving. His value is never ever getting any higher than what it is right now. If you had Cooper Kupp, you likely were a contender. You're likely, somebody who can try to run it back and try to win. I understand that. Listen to me. Cooper Kupp has played. That was his first full season where he was healthy. That's my first point. Point number 2, he had over 100 receptions, and that was the first time he had gone over 100 receptions. And he only had one other season where he went over 1,000 yards, which was in 2019. He had 1,160 yards. That was nearly 800 fewer yards than he had this year. I understand that Matt Stafford is an upgrade from Jared Goff. Jared Goff is not a terrible quarterback. We just talked about how he was throwing the ball to Amon-Ra St. Brown. How did he do at the end of last season? How did TJ Hawkinson do last year? How did DeAndre Swift do last year? Players still put up fantasy points when they have Jared Goff as their quarterback. Cooper Kupp is not going to repeat what he did this year. So we never saw the OBJ, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp trio. Then you throw on Van Jefferson, you throw in Tyler Higbee. That's a lot of weapons. He's still going to be tremendous. I'm not saying he's going to be a bad player. I'm saying he's not going to be consensus wide receiver 1, Triple Crown winner. I think he's probably going to be more like wide receiver 10 through 14. And I think if you can get a number of picks, a young prospect, I'm not saying just give him away. I'm saying try to get everything that you can for Cooper Kupp right now, because this is going to be your best chance at doing that, even if you are a contender. I just traded Cooper Kupp for Darnell Mooney, a couple of first-round picks, a couple of second-round picks, and Russell Wilson. I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. That's a big, big load for Cooper Kupp. I know what I said.
The cup's full overflowing.
You get a guy like Darnell Mooney, who was in the wide receiver 2 range, right? Borderline wide receiver 3. I'm not exactly sure where he landed. He's got a lot of upside. He could sneak into that like low end or mid tier wide receiver 2, 17, 18. And if Cooper Kupp is slipping and you traded wide receiver 10 for wide receiver 18, a ton of draft capital, a good quarterback, you've won that trade. You won the trade. So that's my stance on Cooper Kupp. You got anything else to cover there? Are you in total shock, or how you feeling?
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I like it. That trade, there's a bit more details that you just talked about with Russell Wilson. You needed a quarterback. You inherited the league. It was a salary cap one. And all in context, yes, you had to do it. Even just a straight up dynasty, not premium, not super flex, I'm trading Cooper Kupp. I'm ranking him. I don't know. This part that you're noting back to range of 10 to 12 wide receiver. You don't think he'll be the wide receiver? You got to rank him as a wide receiver 1, top 3 next year in redraft leagues.
I don't think he's there. I personally don't think I don't think he'll be there if you have OBJ, Woods, Kupp, Van Jefferson, Higbee. If OBJ doesn't come back, I think he can. I think Higbee, there's a good chance.
Don't insult Kupp by putting Higbee in there.
I'm just saying there are a lot of other players where targets can go and your volume shrinks by a lot. I mean, if you're talking about the difference between like OBJ as a third or Woods as a third to Van Jefferson, it's a big difference in targets there. That's what I'm trying to say.
It's Cooper Kupp though.
Yeah, 1 year, man. Doesn't year matter. He like exploded.
Doesn't matter. He's number 1 for me. I would give you 3 first-round picks for Cooper Kupp right now if I had him. But I don't. Look at my roster. I'll give you DK Metcalf, my 24 first-rounder, and Dalvin Cook for Cooper Kupp right now.
Perfect. Let's go make that deal.
Seriously? I'll do it. Yeah, so it is tricky. It sucks. He's coming off the number 1, but realistically, will he be number 1? No. Players rarely repeat, but I think he'll be top 5. I think it's a bit insulting to say that he'll be on the lower end. That's kind of mean of you, and I think we need to ban you from the show. We've been going on a bit long here, but yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about all the targets because you had Robert Woods for the first handful of games, who was disappointing if you had Robert Woods, but Kupp was just dominant. They need him. You saw it in the Super Bowl. They're like, all right, screw this. Just throw the ball to Kupp. Easy button. That's going to be their game plan. We'll see how OBJ comes back from his injury. Like, that just happened in February, second week of February. It's going to be hard to get him going in the beginning of the season. Yeah, I mean, it's a risk. You're always taking the risk. But yes, you are right. His peak value is now. Definitely trade him if you can. But
for a ton. For 3 first-round picks, for 2 first-round picks and a prospect, for
2 first-round picks and a first-round pick caliber type wide receiver.
Rashad Bateman and Elijah Moore and Amon-Ra St. Brown, even if you threw him in with a couple of picks, you know, those picks I would do. I mean, those trades I would do.
Can't be cheap. That's for sure. Definitely win that trade if you're going to part ways with him. All right. Honorable mentions, just name me a name without any context.
DK Metcalf.
Derrick Henry. All right. If you want to get our thoughts on that, you can hit us up on our socials. Just a tip, FFP, slide in our DMs, find out why we would move on from those guys, or leave a comment. Maybe we'll reply back in the comments. YouTube, Just a Tip, a fantasy football podcast. If you are listening to us on Apple and Spotify, you can rate us there. Be much appreciated. Download the episodes. Share our tips with your friends and family. Thank you, everybody who is supporting us. I know it's the off season, so maybe you're just bored checking us out. distracting from the world nowadays, and we're here to try to give you that outlet. Hope you guys had fun like we have. I don't know, Ryan. I wouldn't say it was our best episode, but probably 10 to 12. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'd say that's about right. Great.
Not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Wait, what?
No, nothing. You're good.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
great episode, but yeah, man, it wasn't, number one by far. You
No.
can trade it. You can make a good trade for it.
You could trade this. You could trade up. All right, let's get into our leftovers. You want to go first or me?
I'll go first here.
right.
Real quick, Reacher on Amazon. Don't waste your time. Terrible, worst acting I've seen in recent memory. I made it about 20 minutes in, and that was all I had.
Amazon's pretty disappointed with their shows. I got 2 leftovers for you, but yeah, I'm not gonna check out Jack Reacher. I'm sorry you put yourself through that. On HBO Max though, it's on Amazon. I'm sorry. Getting distracted. I have so much stuff. I've been catching up on a lot of Batman stuff, so I'll get to that with my real leftover. But my one dumpling sitting in the box I'm grabbing out of the fridge, the Val Kilmer documentary on Amazon is pretty good. He documented like 40 years of his life, his whole acting career and stuff, but he throat cancer, lost his voice, so he has to use the mic machine thing. So his son narrates it, but very good documentary on his life. It's pretty cool. But my real leftover in the Batman, I'm trying to stay off social media, but I'm listening to the Sports Hub. I'm going to call them out, Toucher and Rich, in the morning, driving around, and they have a bit that they do watching, bird watching. So they critique or give a review, non-spoiler, they advertise. I'm like, all right, cool. I listened to it. There's a spoiler in it. And they claim it's not. So I was tweeting at them. I'm like, that is a spoiler. And I lay it out for them. And they just keep on for the past couple days still saying there's some angry guy on Twitter. I'm like, I'm not angry. I'm just annoyed. I'm like, that is a spoiler. I need to play the outro music. We're finishing up here, guys. I'm sorry. But I just need to.
You're not going to say it here, right? You're just going to.
No, I'm not. No.
Yeah, good.
I'm not going to hear it. So if you guys were listening to the Sports Hub and they were saying an angry guy on Twitter, that was me. What he implied in his review, and I'm like, that's a spoiler. Without saying it, you still spoiled the movie. And very disappointing. I tried calling them, but then they're like, they had a guest on. I'm like, well, I'm not waiting on hold for an hour. You have this guy on for an hour. Like, forget it. Not worth it. But I'm looking forward tomorrow in IMAX. Ooh. It's going to be great. Best Batman movie is going to be, in my opinion. Calling it now.
It's a good call. And that's why
a spoiler-filled review next episode in my leftovers.
There you go. That's why you should listen to Just the Tip, a fantasy football podcast, over the Sports Hub.
Mm-hmm. Just take the tips like your mom does. Goodbye.